Okay, welcome everyone. This is the first training of the People's Justice Project's Movement Incubator. The Movement Incubator is a program that we're starting in bits and pieces to incubate a stronger movement to support their organizations. Uh-oh. I accidentally somehow kicked Stephanie out of the meeting. I don't know how that happened. Hopefully she will come back. At any rate, technical problems aside, I've lost my train of thought. The Movement Incubator is our attempt to support new and emerging and maybe not so new, but continuing to grow organizations, to grow, develop, and build a strong movement with us, because we know that as a single organization, we are not going to succeed the way that we can when we are working in collaboration with other organizations. So this is our, as I said, our first training. This training is about individual fundraising. So we have a series. This is the first in the series. The second in the series is going to be on budgeting. And it's scheduled for February 19th, although I found out I need to be in an airplane at that time, but potentially not, so we'll see. It may need to be rescheduled February 19th. And then on March 5th is the third training. Sorry, I didn't know what they are. So the second training will be on budgeting and keeping. After we raise the money, then we got to figure out how to categorize it. And then the third training will be March 5th, and that one is on grant seeking. So there'll be a little section of grant writing, but actually 85 to maybe 95% of getting money from grant is not the writing itself, it's developing the relationship with the granting organization or person. These people, family foundations, and so forth. So, so much of actually what we're going to talk about tonight also connects with the grant seeking training we'll be doing in March. So I am super excited this evening to have a guest speaker. Catherine Stevens is, oh, I should have gotten a bio from you, Catherine, so I could properly introduce you. Catherine Stevens is joining us tonight. She is an intern right now with People's Justice Project. She's been a long-time friend of the organization and supporter of good work in general. And Catherine, I'll maybe let you just introduce kind of your background, a little about yourself, and Catherine's going to be doing the first part of our training, and then I'll the second part. And you're going to share your screen, right, Catherine? You're good with that?
Okay. I am going to attempt to share my screen. Yes.
If not, then you can introduce yourself while I pull up the slides and I can share for you.
Oh, I can do it, Em, I think, but it might take me a second, which is fine. I have them ready to go, but if you all give me a little grace, I could try. First, if anyone, and Em, you can tell me, can you hear me okay? I have new headphones in. Okay. I felt like I was getting a little bit of a choppy sound from you, Em, and I didn't know if that was my internet or my earphones.
Yeah, she was coming in manually. Word. But I can hear you just fine, Catherine.
Okay, great.
Word.
Wonderful. So good evening, everyone. I'm so thrilled to have people here. I'm excited. A little bit about me. I have been in the nonprofit space for decades and was a consultant for nonprofits around the world for many years, helped run the national campaign to end the death penalty, and have really, this has been really my life's work, and have been a longtime fan of PJP, and really am honored to be here tonight. So if you'll bear with me, I'll pull up some slides that we'll go through. Okay, I'm going to pull this up, and then I will go to present view. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Thank you, Deborah. Thanks, Em. All right, so tonight we're going to be having a development discussion. And when we say development, we mean building the financial foundation that keeps us independent, accountable, and ready to fight. And this isn't just about money, this is about power. Who funds the work determines who controls the work. And we believe that the people should control this work. So let's dig in. Well, you would think I'd be able to switch the slide. There we go. Before we get into the numbers, I want to ground us in a principle. And that principle is a diversity of donors and funding sources is important. And understanding where the greatest potential is, it helps us focus our resources. What I'm trying to say here is that we can't afford to put all of our eggs in one basket. If one funder pulls out, one grant cycle shifts, or one political wind blows the wrong direction, we need to be standing on solid ground. So that means we need to understand the landscape of giving in this country and figure out where we fit. So let's look at the national picture. In 2024, Americans gave a total of 392 billion. Let me move this over so I can see the actual slide. Yes, okay, sorry. So Americans in total gave 592 billion to charitable causes, and that's a 6.3 increase from 2023. And the economic conditions were generally positive, with inflation settling back near 2.9%. Now, here's the part that I really want you to see. 66%, this is what I was jumping ahead to, 66% of all giving came from individuals, not foundations, not corporations, everyday people. Foundations accounted for 19% at $109 billion. Corporations, just 7%. That's so important. I will reiterate that a million times, the low percentage of corporate giving. And then bequests were 8%. And what I always say on this slide is that dead people, which are the bequests, those are planned gifts, outgive corporations. So just keep that in your mind when you're thinking about your strategy for building your funding model. So what this tells us is the single largest source of philanthropic power in this country is the individual person deciding to invest in something that they believe in. That's exactly the kind of power we need to tap into. So what I want to show you here is this isn't a new trend. It's been consistent for decades. If you look at this chart, going back to 1985, individual giving has always been the dominant source. It was about 80% in the 80s. And even though it's come down to 67% in recent years, you'll notice that the foundations are growing. And what we're seeing philanthropists and individuals do is take their resources and put those into donor advised funds. So that's why you're seeing the growth in the foundation area. And it's not necessarily a diminished area of individual giving. It's that 67% and probably half of that 18% is all individual giving. So again, the people are the most powerful funders in this country. And for our organizations serving the people, that alignment is really everything. So if the people are the power, then acquiring donors, building the base of individual supporters is essential to a fundraising program. This is the work. Not just applying for grants, not just waiting for a foundation to notice us. We have to go out and invite people into this movement with their dollars, their time, and their networks. Donor acquisition is how we build the kind of grassroots financial base that will keep us independent. So not all fundraising tactics are created equal. And I wanted to share this with everyone as you think about you're putting together your strategy for how you're going to raise money. And it's important to be educated in what tactics work, what is the ROI on those tactics. And so I'm hoping that this will be helpful for you. This table shows the return on investment for different approaches in mature organizations. So let's look at major. For every dollar spent, the median return is $24. That's the highest return on investment of any tactic that you're seeing on this slide. Planned giving and capital campaigns also perform well at $20 per dollar spent. Direct mail returns about $10 per dollar or $10 per dollar, and then telephone calls is about $12. You'll notice that special events, it's only $3.20 per dollar spent. That is the lowest return. So does that mean that we would stop doing an event? No, because events build community, they build visibility, they build relationships. It's a nice point of entry. But when we're thinking strategically about where we want to invest our limited time and resources, it is the major gifts. Major gifts. And what major gifts means is individuals, gifts from individuals. Peer-to-peer outreach. That's going to give us the most bang for our buck here. So here is a reality check that every fundraiser should understand. It costs $2 to $3, 2 to 3 times more money to recruit a new donor than the amount of their first donation. So that means if someone gives us $1 for the first time, we may have spent $2 or $3 to get that dollar. And that sounds like a loss. And in the short term, it probably is. But the key is to make that investment worthwhile. We need to keep that donor for at least 12 to 24 months. That's when this return starts to show. So the first gift is just the beginning of the relationship. So that brings us to maybe the most important line in the entire presentation tonight, at least the ones that I'm giving. Getting donors is hard work. Keeping donors is smart work. Let that sit in for a moment, as we've already realized the ROI on tactics and learning how to get donors in the door and what it costs to get a donor in the door. We can hustle and grind and bring new people in, and we should, but if we don't keep them and steward those relationships, if we don't follow up, if we don't say thank you, if we don't show them the impact that we're having and keeping them connected to our work, then we're going to lose them. And then we're back to square one, spending more money to find the next donor. So retention is really where the sustainability lives. So now the question becomes like, where do we go from here? We've seen the data. We know the individual giving is the largest source of philanthropic power. We know that acquiring donors takes investment and keeping them takes intention. And we know which tactics give us the greatest return. But let's talk about how we put all of this into practice. And before I go into this next piece, if anybody has any questions, I guess we could save those for the end, or you could put them in the chat and I am happy to answer those. So this slide is the advancement model, and it's a framework that guides our development work. Think of it as two connected cycles, both centered on our mission. On the left side is the communication side, where we build relationships. Step one is making the case. We build awareness around our mission, who we are, why this work matters. Step two is we communicate. We show how we're uniquely positioned to meet the need, and we demonstrate that impact. And step three is we engage. We invite new people to participate and deepen relationships with our existing supporters. On the right side is the development side. This is where we inspire our donors. So step four would be we align. We understand what motivates a potential donor, and we focus our engagement around what motivates them and their passion. Then we solicit them. We make the ask, whether it's a first-time gift or asking for an increased gift. That is that part of the cycle. And then step six is stewarding. We acquire and recognize the gift, we thank them, and then we invest in that relationship to deepen the engagement. So what does that look like in practice right now? Some of you may be aware that we launched the hashtag IMPJP campaign. And so that was a mini campaign for us. Mini campaigns, they're short, focused fundraising pushes. They're typically 4 to 12 weeks long, and they're built around a specific theme, message, or a moment in time. They create opportunities to connect both prospective and current donors and invite them to engage more deeply. And they follow a set plan and cadence with integrated, coordinated messaging. A second approach is peer-to-peer fundraising. And this is one of the most effective strategies available to us. So it empowers our current donors and supporters to advocate on behalf of us within their own communities and their networks. When someone you trust asks you to support something that you care about, that carries real weight. And that's the power of peer-to-peer fundraising. So building your case for support. You saw this on the advancement model on the left side of it in your communication and what you want to share with your donors or your potential donors. Well, every strong fundraising effort needs a compelling case for support. This is the story that we tell. It's the narrative that moves people from awareness to action. And this is the framework in which you could create your own case for support. We start with the goal, the big picture, tangible objective that aligns our mission with our programs and motivates donors to give. we share the problem, we name the problem. What are the challenges and obstacles that we're up against? And then we present the solution. This is the primary way that we pursue the goal that we're trying to achieve. And then we offer proof. We share evidence of the work, that what we're doing, both qualitative and quantitative, if we can. And I would encourage to do both if you can. And then we establish urgency. The reason the problem needs solving now, not later. And then creating alignment, connecting the donor's own passions and values with the organization's work. And that becomes the part of the right hand of the advancement model that we just looked at. And then finally, the call to action. And this is the specific response that we're asking the donor to take. And that ask can be anything from inviting others to get involved with your work. That could be asking them to invest in your work, or that could ask them to just be a champion of your work. So I thought we would share a little bit for an example of the campaign for you just to see the way we did the IMPJP campaign. So we all got together and we decided that we wanted to establish our own fundraising campaign to speak to the individual, because we can't rely on institutional funding. We need the people. So when we depend on, I can't even read the slide because it's covered up by this other thing, but when we depend on institutions, we give them the power over our mission, and we become accountable to the funders instead of the people we serve. So this was kind of our rationale on, okay, let's build a campaign to talk to the people. So why people-powered funding is different. When the community funds the work, everything changes. We stay accountable to those directly impacted by injustice for us, not a program officer that's in another city, not a PO that's in another county even. We have the flexibility to respond quickly to urgent needs without waiting for a grant approval. We can take bold stances without the fear of losing a major funder. And we build a base of supporters who are personally invested in our success. And we create sustainable, unrestricted funding that powers everything we do, from direct actions to fellowships to civic engagement. And this is about power. People-powered funding equals community-controlled mission. And that's our vision. So this was our ask as we went into the campaign. The first one was like, it starts with us, and us going out to our constituents and our friends and saying, give. Even small gifts matter. Every dollar matters. And when 100 people would give $25 a month, that's $30,000 a year of unrestricted funding. Now you're asking, in this situation, what I'm showing here is a recurring gift. If you can get a recurring gift, that is, you know that money is coming in every month. It is a really great as you think about cash flow. But think of this, 100 people, $25 a month, that's 30 grand a year for your organization and your impact. The get, we were like, okay, if you can't give, people who care about this work. Your ask carries weight because you're connected to PJP. Can you bring one new donor this year? Can you introduce us to somebody? And then the acquisition. Every conversation is an opportunity. At church, as you're walking down the street, at the family reunion, at work, when someone asks what you're involved in, we wanted them to say, we're involved in PJP. And then the solicitation comes. I mean, that's the ask. That's, can you champion the work? Can you invest in the work? Can you invite people to get involved in the work? And then advocating. The story we tell matters, and PJP is funded by the community because this is the community's fight, and we can't wait for institutions to save us. We have to save ourselves. And that's where this story matters. We want this story to be told, and it can't just be from Aramis, and it can't just be from Emily. It's got to be from all of us. So when we're out in the world, we want to say, this is funded by the community because this is our fight. And then important, so important, is to monitor what's coming in, tracking the progress. We would work every week. We'd get together. Where are we against goal? What donors have come in? Who needs to call and say thank you? Who needs to write a letter to say thank you? And then that transparency with your donors and letting them know how much you've raised and how you're using their funding is important. And transparency with your donor, it builds trust with your donor. So this isn't about replacing institutional funding overnight for us, and for you either, but it's about diversifying our support so we're never dependent on one single source. And that starts with us tonight, right here, right now. I am happy to answer any questions, but that concludes my part of tonight's presentation. I'll stop sharing.
Does anybody have any questions for Catherine? I thought the question as you were going through the slides, there are a few pieces of what I would call fundraising jargon that you were using. I put, donor advised funds. I put an explanation in the chat about that, as that the funds that are housed at foundations but are controlled by individual donors. So it's really a part of individual donor fundraising. But I think that was on one of your slides, recognize the gift. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about what that means in fundraiser speak.
Okay, it was a little choppy and I didn't get the actual question.
Oh, is it choppy for other people or?
Yeah, it is.
I got stuff.
It is yourself.
What's on it?
7.
Uh-oh. Okay, well, I will try and fix my audio. The question was whether or not, the question was if, I'm trying to remember on the slide that had the circle on it, you used the term recognize the gift. And I wondered if you could explain more about what recognize the gift means.
Sure, of course. I mean, recognizing the gift is thanking the individual for the gift. And that should be in a formal written acknowledgement. I would recommend writing a thank you letter. And then if you can go so far to call someone to say thank you, that will go a long way. And then as you become more sophisticated at your end of year and you create your annual report, listing all of your funders on that annual report would be a way to recognize their gift as well. Great question.
Yeah, thanks. Is my audio better now? No, it's not.
Try again.
Yeah, I was wondering if my audio is better now.
It's better-ish.
Okay. I'm gonna try.
Yeah, you're good. You sound a little better, Emily Seraphy Cox.
But a little better isn't better.
Oh,
That's
there
fantastic.
you are.
Yeah.
There it is.
It's because
There
it's
you
somehow
are,
connected to
Eva.
my phone and it was all weird. Yeah. Sorry. Okay.
No worries.
We're all back. The other couple things of there were a couple other
things that I thought of that were kind of would be good to extrapolate on, but I don't remember what they were anymore. And they'll probably in some way come up during my presentation too, because I'm going to talk a bit more about the nuts and bolts of how, if you were to, you know, design your own campaign, how you would go about doing that. But any other thoughts or questions for Catherine? No? Okay. Well, feel free to put them in the chat as we go on. Okay, so this is the second half of our presentation. And similar to Catherine's presentation, this kind of idea of the revolution will not be grant funded. Foundations are fickle. Foundations are, you know, have their own processes. Right now, lots of foundations are going through realignment because of all of the changes happening on the federal level, and everybody's trying to be careful, but still do the things they want to do, but they're not sure how to do that. And so lots of money is actually on pause right now, including some money for, you know, that we were expecting to come to PJP. So decidedly, the revolution will not be grant funded. A couple things about this presentation. One is that it is a presentation that I hope will include actionable steps for you to ensure that the people have the opportunity to fund your grassroots organization. Because at the end of the day, people aren't doing you a favor by investing in your organization. You are giving them the opportunity to participate in the movement. And that's a really important framing. One second. Had to close the door. The other thing to know about this presentation is that it has lots of cats. So if you have a phobia of cats, I very much am sorry, but I love cats. So we are going to talk about how to plan a fundraising campaign. Obviously, if you're going to make a fundraising campaign, you got to make a plan. A key element of that plan is the donor list. So we're actually going to go through an exercise where we make a donor list, a potentially real donor list. We're going to talk about the process of asking. Catherine touched on that a bit. And then, yes, of course, thanking your donors. Catherine talked about, you know, the different, many different options of how to raise money, the many different options of how to raise money from individuals, be it, you know, major donors, small donations, all of that. So there are, you know, so many people, I mean, cats out there, and so much money to raise. So it's really easy to get overwhelmed when we're thinking about a fundraising campaign. So let's take it step by step. When you're making your plan, and this nice kitty cat looks very attentive. So this is, you got to be attentive when you're making your plan, right? You got to set your goal. Setting your goal is really hard. We'll talk about that in a second. You got to build your team, find your donors, schedule your work. Really? Like schedule it? Yes. You got to schedule your work. And it's interesting, Catherine, that you talked about what was the word that you were using? Recognizing the gift as the thanking part, because the other part of recognizing the gift is the tracking part. Like, you know, in terms of, I'm now giving you a preview of a little bit of the bookkeeping side of things, that when you recognize the gift is actually when you enter it into your bookkeeping. And then, of course, the thinking is critical as well. So setting a goal. is super, super, super important. But how much money do you actually need? Aramis, how much money does PJP need?
Like, seriously?
All of it, right? We need all the money.
I would say like I could say what you can do with what dollar amount. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like,
All right.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh, you want me to really answer the question, or do you want me you being?
I mean, yeah, go ahead how you were going to answer it.
No, I'm saying, like, one of the key things about this thing is that, first off, can you see me? Am I frozen? There we go.
You're
So
here.
first off, oftentimes outside forces will tell you that you can't do a thing. That's the first thing that happens. And then the second thing is that you have to either answer the call of history to engage in the process of trying to do the thing, and then enter into spaces that you don't know how the actual industry, quote unquote, works. Then you figure out, like, oh, you only need this much to sustain. So they've been lying to us the entire time. And then you'll find that people will give you money to do the thing that you want to do. And once you cross that, you will have a good sense of, like, to build organization, you need a certain type of dollar amount, what is how determined on what the thing you want to do. You know what I mean? So, and it takes time to really figure it out. But once you enter into that space, you have a more clarity within, like Emily was talking about, like, what do you need as an organization? You can dollar amount it to yourself and be, well, I don't need like $1 million to do this thing. I might just need 20 to start off, and then quantify itself. And then if you have that, and I know I'm going too far, Emily, if you have that clarity, then you'll feel more comfortable going into spaces and realize, oh, there's a plethora of ways to get the dollar amount that you are wanting to do your whatever objective you have in your organization. I think that's
That's super spot on. And a couple things that I want to pull out of what Aramis just said. One, he said, based on what you want to be doing, you will need different amounts of money. So this is a really important point, and it's a little bit of a hint of the budgeting training. This says on February 5th, which is tonight. It got rescheduled, but the budgeting training, whenever it happens, that a little bit of foreshadowing of that you start with what you want to achieve. You don't start with your budget. You start with what you want to achieve and build your budget from there. And then you build your goal, your fundraising goal, based on your budget that is based on the things you want to be doing. And people have a really hard time usually setting an actual dollar amount. Oftentimes people will either say, oh, I need $1 million, like Aramis just said, or they'll say, I can probably do it with like $5,000. Probably neither of those things is true. And the reality exists somewhere in the middle. So and maybe $5,000 is a good goal to start out with. That actually was the goal of our first fundraising campaign, was to raise $5,000 from individual donors, and then we had a match that made it $10,000. But that's not, the amount of money that we needed for the whole organization. So the point here, though, is make sure to set an actual dollar amount, not just a fuzzy number. Okay, so we're just gonna say for for the purpose of tonight's presentation, we're gonna say that our goal is $100,000. This cat and their abacus thinks that's a lot of money. I agree, it is a lot of money, but there are many different ways to raise that $100,000, like Catherine talked about. So we're going to hold that $100,000 in the back of our heads and take a look at the things that we need to do. So building your team, I would say, is one of the things that people miss the most about, like, any organizer knows that in order to do anything, you have to do it with other people. It is impossible to organize by yourself. That's not organizing. That's yelling into the wind. I don't know. But people oftentimes think with fundraising that, oh, I just need to do all of these things. No. Fundraising is organizing. It's just organizing people around money rather than around other things, right? And it's a part of the organizing process to get people invested in various ways. So here are a few things to ask yourself. Who can help you make a plan? Now, maybe this person isn't going to help you with the rest of it, but they're going to help you make a fundraising plan. We had that as an organization. We had people who helped us make the fundraising plan, but then didn't actually, weren't available to help us implement the plan. Okay, I see a question in the chat that has to do with the budgeting. So I'm going to finish this. No, actually, I've already stopped myself, so I'm going to answer it. So Nana says, I have a question. When setting the budget for a fundraising campaign, do we need to factor in all other program budgets as well? So when I'm talking about setting a goal, I'm talking about setting a goal for how much money we want to raise, not necessarily how much money we are going to spend on the fundraising activities themselves. Hopefully, we are spending less on the fundraising activities than we are raising, that we're actually making a profit, as it were, from our fundraising activities. For instance, PJP, with our I Am PJP campaign, we sent out a bunch of postcards. And so we had to print the postcards, pay for the postage, spend the time to make the postcards. So if you add up all of that, then that's the cost of our fundraising campaign. But we raised more money than that. So we paid for the fundraising materials and time and so forth, plus some. So we actually were making money that is going into our programs. So when you're saying about factoring in program budgets as well, it's whatever you want to be raising money for are the budgets that you need to factor in. So in this hypothetical $100,000, we're saying hypothetically $100,000, say, for the whole organization. Okay. I can't tell if Aramis is talking to us.
No, I was saying that was perfect. That's all. That was perfect. That was
Gotcha.
great.
Okay, so then the other question is, who in your network, who in your organization, who do you know who can help you find donors, who can actually help you make the asks for money? And then usually the people who are tracking the donations are not the people who enjoy asking for money. Like those of us who enjoy spreadsheets oftentimes are more introverted and don't necessarily like to talk to people. I'm one of these strange people that likes to talk to people and also loves spreadsheets. I don't know, I'm weird. But just knowing that there are roles for everybody within this. So we don't all have to be doing the exact same things within the campaign. It is a group project. I already said fundraising is organizing. It's organizing people who happen to have money, people who happen to have resources. PJP just opened our new office this year, right? And one of the things that we needed was things for the office. And you know what? Once we put the call out, man, we got like baby toys and not baby toys, but just kids' toys. We got a little, chair and tables. Like those are resources that people were providing to us. So no, it's not fundraising in terms of dollars, but it's a very similar sort of idea. So in that sense, within your team, and honestly, within your own brain, it's really about creating this culture of possibility and accountability. So Catherine talked about how with the IMPJP campaign, we would get on calls every week and talk about, okay, who from our list has given? Okay, great. We're going to thank them. And then who from our list still needs to give and who needs to follow up with them. And that is the accountability piece. Now, this campaign happened to be that Aramis was doing most of the asking. But the ideal situation is that you have a group of people, all of whom are asking from their own networks, so that they have group accountability together. So finding your donors. This is one of those things where it seems like, these donors exist out in this world. They're not real, right? They're not actually people I know, but you probably do. Even if you think you don't know people with money, like I don't know anybody who owns a Lamborghini. I don't know anybody who has a donor advised. Well, actually, I probably do know people who have donor advised funds because I've been in fundraising for a while. But like in my personal life, my friends and family, none of them have donor advised funds, right? But that doesn't mean that they're not donors. I know that every single one of my family members gives to their church. And while me and my family don't necessarily align on values, I know that my friends align on values. And so if I think about it, okay, my friends, I know that most of my friends make more than I do because they don't work in nonprofits. I work in a nonprofit. And so if I have money to give, then they definitely have money to give. And they care about me. They care about what I'm doing. And you know what? They probably hate their corporate job. And they would so much rather be investing in the movement. And I get to give them that opportunity. Help them feel connected and like that they have some sort of ability to act in a time when all of us, I think, are increasingly feeling more and more powerless. Except we're not. We're just taught to feel like we are. So, in addition to your own friends and family, the other question is, for your organization, who are the prospective donors? Like, yes, me, Emily, the people who care about me are going to be the people I go to first. But as an organization, you also have prospective donors. These are the people who show up for you. The people who are going to help you climb that fence if you ever need to as an organization. The people who show up to your events all the time, the people who open your emails all the time, the people who volunteer, the people who are so excited when they hear your organization's name. Those are the people who are prospective donors because they are invested and excited about your mission. So now this is the moment to take a few minutes, and we're not going to take a nap like this fine cat right here. We're going to just hang out on our own for a moment and list 3 to 5 people, just like on a piece of scratch paper, 3 to 5 people that we think might donate to our organization. It can be people that we know. It can be people that we don't know. It can be people who are on our email list or not, people who know our organization or who don't know our organization. Just list 3 to 5 people that you think might donate to your organization. And I'm gonna pause to let you all do that. Hey, if you have 2 people listed, just push through. Think of that 3rd one. And keep this list around because we're going to use it again later. Okay. For those of you who are watching at home, you can pause here if you need more time. But in real life, we're moving on. So now it's time to sort your donor list. And clearly these cats think this is a very scary proposition because prioritizing is really hard for most people. You get a list of, 3 to 5, not too bad, right? But if you were to really list all of the people that you know who care about you or your organization or what have you, go through your Facebook friend list and then tell me how many people you know. It's a lot, I'm telling you. So you gotta prioritize because you do not have time to reach out to all of them. So prioritizing your list. We call it, I don't know, some people call it the ABCs of fundraising: ability, belief, and connection. So these are the things to look for in a donor prospect. Ability, do they have access to resources? Now, notice I say resources, not money, right? We're raising resources. It could be that they personally have money. It could be that they have relationships with people who have connections or relationships with people who have money, or they have that really cute table and chairs for kids that you need in your office. But that they have that kind of access. So those are the people that we're talking about in terms of ability. In terms of belief, this is cares for your cause. They may or may not have heard of your organization, but they have a belief in your cause. Their values aligned with your organization. If they are also values, if they also have a deep connection, a deep care for your organization, that's even better. But in terms of belief, you don't want to just limit it to people who deeply care about your organization necessarily. And then connection. So you have to have access to the person. How in the world are you going to raise money from somebody or resources of any kind if you don't have any connection to them? So you rate each of these three ideas, criteria, that's the word I'm looking for, criteria, here on a scale from 0 to 3. So 0 being none, like I have zero connection with this person, but they have a high belief in my cause and they have a lot of money. Okay. Or I have a high connection to them, but they have no belief in my cause. They do have a lot of money. That's my family. Just teasing. Not all of my family. I have a lot of connection to them and they have a lot of ability, but they don't actually believe in what I'm doing. So they're going to be pretty low on that scale. But so most of our donors that we've written down are going to be somewhere kind of in between on all of these things. So now you can look at that list that you made and rate folks by ability, belief, and connection there. And be really honest with yourself. Just because I'll take my dad, for example. I have obviously a strong connection to him, so that will be a 3. It's high connection to him. He believes in me. He believes in my cause-ish, like he wants people to not die. He wants people to live together happily. But he's an NPR liberal. Maybe the belief isn't high. Maybe it's medium. Ability? I would say he has a lot of ability because I know what his bank account is and he's fine. But he doesn't feel like he has a lot of ability because for most of his life, he has been struggling to get by. So he wouldn't necessarily rate himself strongly on ability. So this is kind of what I'm talking about a combination of high, medium, and low, maybe even within the same person. I now will pause for a moment while you rate your own list on these items. Okay, I didn't give you as long that time because you're dealing with a list you already have. And because we're gonna dig in a little deeper on this. So just like any rating scale, then you add up the scores. A score of 4 or less, cold prospect. They are probably not your donor. This means ignore the rich dude you don't know. Yes, he may be a 3 on ability. He is very rich, but you have no connection to him, so he's a 0 there. And he like maybe believes in your cause. You're actually not sure. So he's probably like a 1 there. So he's a score of 4, not your donor. Score of 5 or 6. They might be your donor. Definite maybe. Start with cultivation. See if they are, see how excited they are about your organization. See how excited they are about your issues. But keep in mind that they might not be your donor. If your score is 7 to 9, these are your hot prospects. I would say these are your prospects. Your 8s and 9s, those are your hot prospects. Those are the ones that you definitely want to talk to right away. Once you start getting 7 or yes, definitely down to 6, then you're really starting to show that you're not entirely sure about how closely this donor is connected to you or your organization or your organization's cause. But for these ones that it is a hot prospect, this is where you go through the things that Catherine went into greater detail about. Determine the best method to ask the donor, highlight their interests in your pitch as well, what you know about them. This is actually where donor databases come in really handy. You can take notes on the donor, things that you know about the donor. This can feel a little creepy, I get, but for those of us who don't have the best memories, it can be really, really useful to remember, oh, they have a kid that goes to XYZ college. And so then the next time you talk to them, you can ask, oh, how's blah, blah, blah? You know, how's it going at, I don't know, XYZ college? That sort of thing. Just helps, because these are, you're talking about a large number of people that you don't necessarily have like personal relationships with, but you're wanting to cultivate meaningful relationships with. And people always appreciate it when you remember things about them. So then we have your goal. We have our goal from before, right? The $100,000. You got to break that down into individual gifts. Each one of these cats will make a whole. And this is where Catherine's, what did you say? 30 people giving $25 a month. No, 100 people giving $25 a month equals $30,000. Yeah. So that's what we call a donation pyramid. And yes, these are the scariest cats on the entire thing. If you're scared by, like, if there's toddlers around, tell them to shut their eyes. So the question is, how many cats does it take to raise $100,000? Well, if we were going just in terms of large amounts of money, 4 cats giving $5,000, 3 cats giving $10,000, 2 cats giving $15,000, and this is supposed to say 1 at $20,000, and that'll give you $100,000. But 1, 3, 6, 6 plus 4 is 10. This is only 10 donors. Okay, that's fine if all the people you know are able to give $5,000. I do not know that many people who can actually give $5,000, regardless of how much they care about the issue. But this pyramid here is also $100,000. And here we have 15 people giving $500, 10 people giving $1,000, 7 people giving $2,500, 5 people giving $5,000, 2 people giving $10,000, and 1 giving $20,000. So this is an example of how you can either diversify the types of donors you have, and or combine individual donations with grant money if you are already getting grant money to start to increase the base of your support. You know, in organizing, we talk about our base all the time. Well, the base is the largest number of people that we have, right? And they are somewhat invested, but maybe not as invested as our core volunteers. So it's a similar kind of idea. And our core volunteers, we don't have as many of them as we do in our base. So, oh yeah, it does. It hides it. I can't see it. Okay. Yeah, now that you know who you are asking. So you'll need a list longer than 3 to 5 people, of course, to raise $100,000. But now that you know who you're asking and you have an estimate of what an appropriate ask might be, maybe these slides are slightly out of order. You can fill in your pyramid until you have enough money. Yeah, I think I may have skipped a slide. There was a slide talking about how much, thinking about how much to actually ask a donor. Okay, but we're going to check in on where we're at in the plan. So we set our goal, we built our team, and we found our donors. Now we need to schedule our work to stay accountable to each other and then talk about thanking and tracking. So I'm going to probably skip most of the content on here because I think a lot of this is what Catherine talked about earlier. That kind of idea of asking your top prospects first. And this says in person. That's the ideal. But, having a more personal conversation with them. You want to announce your campaign after the first gifts. So with the IMPJP campaign, we had raised, like 3,000 or so of what ultimately ended up being more than $6,000 before our match. We raised like half of our money before we even announced the campaign. You can have a kickoff party if you want. It's fun, as Catherine was saying. It's a way to develop relationships and so forth. And send your letter appeal. Your appeal letter, I think is what that's supposed to say, through the mail. I know it seems really weird to think about sending things through the mail, especially with the post office being what it is these days, but think about how few things you get in the mail anymore. And so especially like a handwritten or, somehow personalized or just a letter from an organization that you actually know that's not a bill. Like, people are excited about that. And then you want to launch your online appeal last, because that's where you're going to get probably your lowest, like each gift will probably be smaller. It tends to be that a little bit more. Not always, but. Oh, but the online appeal is also where you're talking to people that you don't know as well, that you're not as well connected. That's where kind of that peer-to-peer component can really come in. You're the friends of friends kind of idea. So here's just an example of how you can organize your donor list. Here we have Patty. Patty has a score of 7. Gosh, 7. I was just talking about how, by the time you get down to 7 and 6, you're like not quite sure about these people anymore. I feel like these scores should be higher. We determined that Patty had a target ask of $500, which is the equivalent of $42 a month. And our plan for Patty was to do an in-person ask and text to follow up. The person who's going to do the ask is me, Emily, because I'm Patty's neighbor. I'm not actually a neighbor to anybody named Patty, but then also I'm going to have support from a staff person named Sean. Because maybe this isn't an organization, that I like. Maybe I'm just a volunteer for this organization or something like that. So Sean can provide me with the fundraising literature that I need, or answer questions that Patty might have about the organization that I might not know. So Sean is there to support me, but I'm the one doing the ask of Patty. Then we have Joan, a little bit lower of an amount, but still an in-person ask and texting follow-up. Yolanda is going to ask her because she works with Joan at the elementary school. And then our board member, Maria, is going to support Yolanda in asking Joan. Now, John and Sean are going to meet with Penny because we're asking Penny for a bit larger of an amount. So rather than just a, hey, Patty, I see you over the fence, or, you know, the hedge or whatever, in our backyards. Hey, I wanted to tell you about this organization. I'm curious if you might be interested, you know, da, 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 da. In like where I'm at now, we're talking about a bigger amount. So John and Sean are actually going to have a sit down meeting with Penny. And the way that John is connected is because Penny and John attend the same church. And then Lou, we think can give $50. And so we're going to send Lou an email and make sure that that things are posted on our social media and we know that Lou follows us. Sean is going to be the one who sends the email because Sean used to work with Lou, and Maria will help keep Sean accountable. Okay, so that's our plan. Just an example. Oh yeah, see, it's out of order. This is the slide that I was talking about before of how much should you ask for. So the framing questions, yeah, what kind of job do they have? I talked about some of this. Do they have access to other resources other than just money? You know, are they, does their company give money to charities? Does their company have a matching gift program? So like if they give $200, then will their company match that through their matching gift program? So then that $200 becomes $400. Have they had a major life change recently? Did they have a baby? Did they get married? Did they sell a house? Did they buy a house? Did they have a relative pass away? Some of these things can mean that they have less of an ability to give. Some of these things may mean that they have more of an ability to give. There is a looming thing that in the fundraising world is being called like the greatest transfer of wealth between generations. And it is starting now as baby boomers are starting to pass away. And, folks about my age or older or younger, but mostly older, may start to come into more money than they had before. So then a question is, what are they going to do with that money? And then also, do they give to other organizations? And how much? Because if you see that, if you were going to ask them for $50, but you see that they give $200 to the, the community center and $500 to the, whatever help desks, other organization, maybe you should think about increasing your ask. Also, Zillow, the tax assessors database, and LinkedIn are it's all public data, and can be a way to understand, like LinkedIn can be a way to understand what kind of income they might have. Zillow is a way to understand how much their assets are worth. This is, I understand getting maybe a little feels like stalkering, but it's not like you're going to tell the world this information, right? This is private information, except that it's actually public in the public domain. But, you don't need to go saying around town, oh, so-and-so's house is worth $3 million. But knowing that so-and-so's house is worth $3 million can help you understand what their relationship with money is without needing to have the conversation with them about what is your relationship to money. But again, these do not tell you everything. Just because their house is worth $3 million doesn't mean they have $3 million. Just because their job sounds fancy doesn't mean that it pays a lot of money. And also, there are plenty of people out there who are, I don't know, teachers or what have you, not teachers specifically, but have jobs that aren't corporate high-paying jobs, but are in that that transfer of wealth, generational transfer of wealth that I was talking about. Okay, little out of order, but okay. So now let's see how we did with Patty, Joan, Penny, and Lou. So Patty, we were going to ask her for $500. And we are planning an event. So we wanted to ask if she will come to the event. Well, she's going to be out of town and she has not given any money. So we need to follow up when she's back from her trip. Joan is coming to the event. We were going to ask her for $240. She is currently giving $10 a month, which is $120 a year. So we are going to try for $15 to $20 a month. That's the ask that needs to happen. She has not agreed to that yet, so not pledged yet. Penny, we had that meeting. So here was the date. She's maybe attending the event. We asked her for $1,000 and she said, I'll give you $100. Oops. Now we know that was probably too big of an ask for her. The thank you, we can track whether or not the thank you was sent. So it's on the executive director's desk. He needs to sign it. But these ones that came in earlier, yeah, they've already been sent. Like that's a good way to track where something is in the process and make sure it happens. And so then the next step is to follow up in summer to ask for $150. So if she gives, $100 here, we received it January 1st, and she gives $150 in the summer, total, that'll be $250. So that's better than just the $100. And it might not feel like as much to her because it's spread out over a longer period of time. Now, Lou, he can't come to the event either. And our target amount was only $50, but you know what? He gave $250 from an email. Maybe we should have asked him for more. So we're definitely going to follow up with an event, an invite for the spring event. This is just an example of how you can track things and how you can start to think about what to do next time, what the next steps are going to be, what the stewardship, that was, I think, the word that Catherine used for, for some of these, especially this one right here, the follow up with the spring event invite. Like Lou has already given us money, so we could just say, thanks, bye. Or we can continue to deepen that relationship. And since he gave $250 from an email, then maybe he actually has the capacity to give a lot more if we actually develop the relationship further. Okay, thank you, donors. We talked about this. Thank you. Handwritten card. Doesn't matter how sloppy your handwriting is. It doesn't matter how sloppy your handwriting is. Write the damn card. I say it like that because I have had that conversation with so many people, like that exact conversation. But my handwriting is terrible. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This person's handwriting is terrible too. But if I got this card, man, somebody took the time to write it out by hand. And then, of course, a formal donation acknowledgement. This is what I can use for my taxes. I can't use this for my taxes, but this is going to make me feel appreciated as a donor in a way that this one does not. So after the campaign, evaluate your results so you can focus on what works, both in terms of how much, to moderate your asks, like I was talking about with that spreadsheet earlier, and also what Catherine was talking about in terms of what was the rate of return for each of the different fundraising avenues, like online asks, individual, major gift asks, or things sent through the mail. And I had to throw in data with his cat because we're talking about data, except he's data, not data. But this is data because I like to say data. So just some examples of different types of data that you can track, or that you can have data track for you, just saying. You can track the total number of donors, the total amount raised. That's good information even just there. You can stop there. But it's also good to break it out of how many donors did you have of different amounts. So that can tell you what your major donors even are. Here at PJP, our major donors are anybody who gives over $100. They are a major donor in our book. Other organizations that have bigger, individual donor programs, their major donors might not qualify as a major donor until they give like $5,000. None of our organizations are probably there yet, but it's also good to know how many new donors, how many repeating donors, sustaining donors, as Catherine was talking about. These are the monthly gifts. What percentage of your board is giving to the organization? Sometimes funders, like on grant applications, will want to know that information. The number of donors at each giving level. So that's your giving pyramid. And then these are less quantitative and more qualitative, but what motivated donors to give? And then, like I said, the success of different methods, online, mail, in-person meetings, etc. And maybe that's where you revise your target asks, the amount that you're asking for. But gotta remember that this is really hard work. So you got to sustain yourself. As Aramis always says, we'll be here when you get back. No, that's not how you say it. How do you say it?
What do I say?
That, the revolution will still be here when you get back.
The struggle will still be here.
Struggle, thank you.
Not going anywhere. Literally.
The struggle's not going anywhere. Exactly.
If you come to our study, if you understand why we say that.
Yes, and our next study group is being held a week from tonight, 6 p.m. at the office. Okay, that is the end of my presentation. Nana, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for the nuggets. I really appreciate all of these. I wanted to ask a question about the format of the fundraising. So, for instance, a smaller nonprofit like ours, we don't really have no active donors, and then we want to start some fundraising event. Is it appropriate to do it online, or it will be much more effective to have a physical location for that? Thank you.
A physical location like an event?
Yeah, for the event.
Well, you don't have to do an event. I mean, you could do an event, but you don't have to. You can start by just asking people specific, make that, like, if,
Yeah.
hopefully you made your list of 3 to
Yeah.
5 people,
Okay.
ask them for money, and then you'll have donors. I mean,
Okay.
provided that they give you money.
Can I add something to that?
Please.
Yeah, so Nana, so I hear your question. And it wasn't until I'll just give you an example. It wasn't until I took time out to literally go through my Instagram followers
Yeah.
or messages and just started like asking for emails. Then when I asked for emails, I emailed all these people that were either my friends from high school that I know that I've come into contact with at some point to kind of know what we're doing. And then I just said, hey, we're having this campaign. Can you donate this amount of money? And you will be surprised how many people in your actual ecosystem, in your actual network, will kick out $100, $20, $50 to support what you're doing. So like, I think that, like, to Catherine's point, I think it was Catherine or Emily, like, yes, like events and fundraisers are fun for, community building, but you put out more money for that than you actually receive. In
Okay.
my experience, when I was like doing high school stuff, when I was a teacher and stuff like that, like we would do fundraisers and it will be like a couple grand out and we wouldn't even break even. But it was there for the kids. You know what I'm saying? Like the kids, like they had the raffles and whatever, parents could get whatever. But like all the man hours you put into it to make the thing happen, you didn't even receive anything really from it. And so like I would encourage you and others to, like, first stepwise, like tap into your people that you might have people on the continent that might support you. You might have people in the town that might support you. You never even know. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
and you'd be actually really surprised how many people will. And then go from there. But I would suggest like doing as little as possible before you start doing big things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
Word.
All right. Thank you. Thank you
Hope
so
this helps.
much.
And also you can just come to the office. We would chat about it at some point. Yeah.
All right. Sure. I will.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So 2 things. One is piggybacking on Aramis's offer to come to the office and talk about it. As a part of the Movement Incubator, organizations who are a part of the Movement Incubator can have access to that kind of like one-on-one, thought partnership, technical assistance, that kind of thing. So Nana, for Land Rights Defenders, you all have been with us since beginning of last year.
Yeah.
So like for sure, please, take us up on that. And same, Deb and Serge and Kay, welcome. You're new this evening, but it can be what do they say? The beginning of a beautiful friendship. Casablanca. You don't remember? Oh, it's from Casablanca. Anyway, so yes, we can talk more about what that means for you and your organization. Maybe I'll reach out later this week. But so that's the logistical side. But then yes, what Aramis was saying about like hit up your people. You don't even know, who might give. I'm curious, Catherine. What would you say is the number one reason why people don't give money to an organization?
Because they have not been asked.
Mhm.
So Nana, I would say take that list of who are you going to invite to your event and just call them.
Yeah.
Okay. So does that like accent or stuff like that, the American way of life, does it really count when you're making your ask?
Do you know the people?
Well, I know of, for instance, I have almost 2,000 followers in LinkedIn for the nonprofit, but I haven't asked any. I'm thinking, oh, they they might reject me, or they might, I don't really know about. So right now I'm thinking I'm building that kind of confidence to go and start building that personal connection, because I was thinking maybe they might think, oh, you are, I mean, you don't act like asset stuff.
Nah,
So
nah. I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
tell you. I'm gonna tell you right the fuck now, B. Like, number one, never,
yeah,
ever negotiate yourself out of doing the thing. You know
okay,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like, a part in your brain, if that pops up, that means you gotta go for it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And then you don't want, I say this all the time, like, you don't want to look in that mirror in like 15, 10 to 12 years or whatever and be like, man, I should have done that.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to be able to look in that mirror and say, at least I fucking tried. You heard? And
right,
so if you have that in the back of your head, B, like, that's when you step in. You're like, okay, I'm thinking I can't do it. Now I really got to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because like that part of like negotiating yourself out, most of us will not, you will become immovable. You won't move. You know what I'm saying? And
right,
fuck, I'm telling you, people will support the thing. Like Catherine just said, you just have to ask, because like part of it is like getting past that type of it wasn't let me dead ass, like, it wasn't until under the leadership of Catherine and Emily and the rest of the team that I actually stepped in and did it. And when I was pushed to do it, I was like, oh shit, this ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because you start learning that people will give if you
mm,
just ask. So like my whole point is, try to, like, when you get that feeling, just step into that feeling of like that uncertainty. Cause that's where the joy comes in. That's where the first step. Because most of the time, people are afraid to take the first step. And once you take that first step, there's nothing going to stop, because you only can go up. That's it.
right,
For me. And so, like, I'm just telling you, man, like, that resonated with me, because I feel like a lot of people in this thing of organizing money and organizing people and all those things, we get so wrapped up in not taking the first step. You take that first step, and I'm telling you, you'll be so proud of yourself, because it's going to quantify itself every single time. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm a motivational speaker over here.
thank you so much.
Yeah, work. I play sports and shit, and I know that shit. Because that shit's real, man. I really resonate with that, man. Like, I can't tell you how much I resonate with that part. You know what I'm saying? Word. You ever
Yes.
seen a bank robber like John Dillinger? Like they go into banks. John Dillinger will go into banks and rob the bank, right? But he never robbed the bank. He never stole from the people. He stole from the institution. Be him when you're trying to raise money. It's a stick up, because they got it. You know what I'm saying? And we're trying to get it. You know what I'm saying? By legal means. But think of it like the 1930s mobsters rob the bank.
No, that's actually I feel like that undermines my whole thing of like, you are providing an opportunity for people to feel good about themselves.
Yes, that too, but you're not taking it from the people.
Oh,
See,
well, but we're raising money from the people.
it's the principle of John, man. Like, my bad. Scratch what I said. Just have that mindset of like going for it, man.
Yes,
Like,
indeed.
that's what I'm trying to say. Go for it.
Go for it, for sure.
Word.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't say that to the third people. I'm still a kind young man. I still want them to like me. All right, word.
That's a lot of humor. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
this
gotta have
is
humor in this, right?
Right, right.
literally the real me. Like,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
this.
But and I feel like also part of it is, what are you actually asking for when you're, say, reaching out to one of your contacts? Are you reaching out to say, hey, will you give my organization $50? I would say that shouldn't be the very first thing you say. The very first thing you say might be, I wanted to let you know about this organization that I've been a part of. Like, I saw that you were interested in XYZ thing, or, where we've been connected on LinkedIn and whatever. Like, and then maybe it's an invitation to a conversation. I'd love to tell you more about this organization, because like what I remember, one of the things now that I wanted to ask you about, Catherine, was the word champion. That's part of what I was talking about like people who have access to resources, even if they themselves don't have resources, people who are connected to people with money, right? So some of these folks on your LinkedIn, they themselves might not be in a position to give or give very much, but they can connect you with people who are. So even just reaching out to say, I want to let you know about our organization. I want to let you know about what we've been doing and find out more about your organization. Gee, talk with Fanon. This sounds a little bit like a one-on-one, which she was just trained on Saturday. So it's like I said, this is just organizing. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that.
Of course. Thank you all for being on here. Catherine, anything that you want to say before we let people go for the evening?
No, I appreciate everyone being here. And if anyone needs any further help or questions, we're certainly all available.
Yeah. Much love to you all. Stay warm.
Can you two stay on the call?
For sure. Hold on. Okay. Let me turn off the recording.